Welcome in for another edition of NewOrleans.Football. As always, we are presented by PJ's Coffee. PJ's Coffee, the best coffee shop in the land. They have locations spread around everywhere. So wherever you can find them, make sure you get your hands on the cup to get your day going. And we're also brought to you by Matt Bowers Auto Group. Matt Bowers has a new Ford dealership up there on Vets in Metairie. We got a lot of great deals going on in almost all of his dealerships. So make sure you check him out if you need a new ride. Mike, let's get into our first topic presented by Aaron Rose. The Saints, Kai Harley, that front office, they found a way to do it again, make the magic happen. They have more than $30 million in cap space. Does this mean that big moves are on the way still at this later period of free agency?
Well, it's not magic. I mean, they basically just restructured everybody on the team and cleared out the maximum number of space. They can still do Taysom Hill. They still will do something with Taysom Hill. I think they're waiting for him to get healthy and figure that out. I think that's one of the questions. So I won't spoil it. One of the Martin's questions of the day, the specifics, but there'll be a little more money. But I mean, they really just like restructured every deal they could. And now I don't know exactly why. We tried to ask around and say, why not just only do the ones you have to? But the point is that it doesn't really matter. If they don't sign another player from here on out, they take that $30 million, costs close to $5 million to sign the draft class, take that $25 million. There'll be some more, moves they make throughout the offseason, but if they end up with 15 or 20 million that they never spend, and just carry it over to next year. So there's no harm. It's not like if you lose it if you don't use it. It makes me think that they're interested in still pursuing a few things, but I do not think, first of all, it signals, it seems like the most popular theory out there is, this means they're going to get rid of Derek Carr. No, you don't restructure Derek Carr, give him $29 million guaranteed right now today in the form of a signing bonus, to save $30 million in cap space so that you can use that $30 million in cap space to get rid of Derek Carr.
Yeah. I mean, that's one just hot topics, period.
Now, look, something changes. They get their hands on Cam Ward. Somebody makes them an offer they can't refuse. I don't know what that would be. I don't know which of these NFL teams out there are suddenly going to offer like a second-round pick for Derek Carr that you can't refuse. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't see it right now. But, who knows? Things could possibly change.
Yeah.
They eventually traded Marshawn Lattimore, but that's not the direction the team's heading right now. It's not a plan. They did not create $30 million in cap space by restructuring Derek Carr's contract so they could get rid of Derek Carr. That would be a big hit. To pay him all his money, you'd have to really want that draft pick bad. You'd be paying for the draft pick. You'd be paying cash for a draft pick. That's what you'd be doing, and that does not appear to be what the Saints are doing. And what draft pick would they be getting? Would they spend $29 million to get a fifth round pick? I mean, I really don't know what it would be. So that until something happens that I'm not seeing, that's not the answer. Is it Keenan Allen? Is it Tevin Jenkins? Is it Asante Samuel? Maybe. I mean, they were in on Charvarius Ward. They were in on Cooper Kupp. But even those guys, their first-year cap number will be $5 million, the way they structure their contracts. There's not a player out there that's going to have a $30 million cap hit. Are they looking into trading for a big name? Maybe. I'm sure they're having those discussions. The fact that they missed on Charvarius Ward and they missed on Cooper Kupp lets you know they planned on adding more to this team in free agency than they have. But there's not a $30 million cap hit player coming. There's not even if they didn't backload the cap costs on their contracts, I don't even think there's a $30 million player left in free agency. I'd like to see them get great value on Keenan Allen and Asante Samuel right now. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
And they would do that with first-year cap hits that are probably like $3 and $4 million. So I don't know exactly why they've carved out all this space, but boy, it'd be really exciting if they don't spend a ton of it. And next year, we're talking about a team that's like going into the offseason under the cap, which is very realistic right now.
Yeah, no, and that was a topic on Monday's show that you and Nick talked about adding cornerback and wide receiver help. And yesterday, Wednesday, Nick did the dot on the $30 million opening up and kind of what that would mean. And, it's my job to kind of go through and find picks for the thumbnail. And I was like, well, which player kind of was
Who's
signal
the $30
what's
million
going to
player?
happen? Right. And I chose Keenan Allen just because that body type,
Yeah.
that just would make sense. It would make sense to help the offense kind of move forward. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. And if you can add in Asante Samuel, perfect, great. Man, but you just have so much work to kind of be done in different areas. And some people, like he also said in there, they got to take it on the chin that maybe their worth isn't where they think it's
Yeah.
at. You know what I mean?
Good time to be shopping right now.
Yeah, for sure. But I definitely think swinging on somebody like a Keenan Allen, you saw them swing at Cooper Kupp. You saw them swing at Charvarius Ward, and they missed. And they missed for multiple different reasons. But, I mean, Jawan Johnson, he picked up the phone and called Kellen Moore and said, hey, I want to stay here. So you got that. But just still in keeping with adding to this team and adding talent and depth in different spots, I think that moves need to be made. And I might be green, but I trust them to make the moves.
Yeah, I don't think they're done. And this is typically a place where they've tried to hit in free agency. They kind of believe in that third wave, if you want to call it, where people realize their market is not what's expected. I mean, shoot, remember they signed Tyrann Mathieu after the draft. They're a team that believes in the values at this stage of free agency. But the key word there is value. So, what I mostly wanted to address is people see 30. It's more than 30 million in cap space right now, and they see that and they assume this means something big is coming. And I mean, I can't rule it out. This is a very aggressive team, but I just, when talking to people, they have not said, "Oh yeah, be by your computer." They've been like, "Yeah, maybe we'll spend it. Maybe we'll carry it over if we don't." But there is no penalty in moving, creating all this cap space this year and then transferring it into next year if that's what they end up doing. So I'd say all options are on the table. I just don't see the $30 million option. And the one that's least likely to me is everyone trying to put two and two together and equal this means they're moving Derek Carr. And that just, it would make no sense to me. Now, it could mean a change in plans. Things could change. You and Nick talked about that on Wednesday's show. Maybe they do end up getting a quarterback in the draft that they didn't anticipate, and they want to move Derek Carr at that time. But they didn't do this with the intention of moving Derek Carr. That is not how you would manage your money in that situation.
How long do
you would have somebody else pay his $10 million roster bonus
and then giving
instead of paying it and then trading it? It just you don't do this financially. Now, look, if you get a better offer because the new team only has to pay him $1 million, okay, maybe you consider that. But they don't do this with the intention. They didn't create this cap space to make him easier to trade. What they've done so far actually would make it harder to trade him.
How long does this keep going? How long do they keep on signing these contracts and then restructuring them? How long do they keep on approaching them?
Forever. They will always do it. I mean, that's what this is more than anything, is proof that they just believe in structuring their contracts this way. I mean, they didn't have to add Devon Godshaw is a great example. You look at his structure. He is getting 2 years, $11 million from the Saints. 2 years, $11 million. And so they structure his contract for his cap hit to be 1.9 this year. And then the other $9 million is over the next 4 years. They didn't have to do that. They're $30 million under the cap. But that's just how they believe in structuring their contracts, because they can and because there's no interest penalty. And, it doesn't hurt worse next year than it hurts this year. So they just believe in, I don't know, maybe it's easier for them to look at their spreadsheet and know what their max bid is or something like that. I don't know, but obviously different teams do it different ways. But they're not doing anything out of necessity. They're doing anything because this is how they believe in structuring their contracts. And I know a lot of people don't like that. But as long as they're accountants, they're Kai Harley, and they look at the books and they know what that all means. At the very least, you can disagree with it, but they are not going to all of a sudden be caught at some point. They are well aware of what it's going to look like in 26, 27, 28, 29. unless there's the COVID thing that happens again, which did throw the entire NFL for a loop. They're very aware of how these numbers all add up in the end. Like I said, that doesn't mean I'm telling everyone they should love that, but they know how this all works.
They always find a way to have the math, and man, it's kind of crazy to see, just like from that outside point of view of, well, you expect them to do it again, and then they always find a way to do it again. But you talk about the addition of Devon Gotcha. That'll take us into our next segment, presented by Hard High Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey. There have been some additions that they made so far. Gotcha, he was one of the first people that kind of came in this wave. He was traded from the Patriots, but who has the chance to take the biggest leap in 2025 in terms of the new additions? I'm gonna let you go first. It's your pick.
Yeah. Well, I mean, unless they do something else at corner, I mean, it's got to be Kool-Aid McKinstry and Alontae Taylor, right? I mean, it better be. But I mean, as of now, you pencil those guys in as your two starting corners on the outside, unless they add somebody really high in the draft or add a late free agent. I thought there was a good chance, and obviously the Saints thought there was a good chance they were going to bring in a different number one, quote unquote. And then one of those guys would have had moved to the slot, obviously probably Alontae, or they would have been battling for that number two outside position. As of now, those guys, they're make or break for their careers. They're make or break for the Saints' fortunes. Incredibly important. And then another name that I thought of a little outside the box is, I mean, I hope there's a vision and a plan for Brian Brzee with a new coaching staff, because I feel like he is shown a lot of talent, and I don't know that he necessarily fits better in a 3-4, and they've added defensive linemen to the mix, so I don't know if the playing time is going to be there. It's crowded. They didn't get rid of anybody. They didn't get rid of Shepard. They didn't get rid of Saunders. They didn't get rid of Ridgeway as of now. They kept Cam Jordan, who could be interior. But I just hope that a new scheme, a new defensive coordinator, new defensive line coaches just have a real vision for one of the most talented young players on the team, and I'm excited to see how things turn out for him.
Not comparing the two at all, but I did. Funny enough, it was on TikTok. I'm a young guy, so I use TikTok a lot. I was watching TikTok, and I was watching kind of like career progression timeline of Brandon Graham, who recently just retired with the Eagles, and when he was in his third season, it wasn't looking good at all. But he found a way to kind of turn it around with different scheme changes over time and position changes too. I don't know if that's going to be the same thing with him, but I'm going to stick with the defense, go into the secondary actually, and it's between Alontae Taylor and Justin Reed for me. Who's going to be that thumper? Who's going to be the person that sets the tone of aggressiveness and just, hey, if you come my way, you're going to get hit. You know what I mean? I think that's necessary too on making offenses scared to kind of not a Lattimore scared of, oh, if I throw that way, it's going to get picked, or this dude is going to be old Lattimore, because I don't know what's happening in Washington. But you know what I mean? Who's going to be that guy that sets the tone of, I'm hitting you, I'm letting you know what's up, and you got to take it from there. Because really, I mean, you and I, we sit next to each other during the games, and when Will Harris hit Tyler Algier that time, I was like, this is exactly what was needed. You know what I mean? This is exactly what was needed, because for weeks the defense had been getting ran on. You know what I mean? And honestly, I really hope that the Brandon Staley defense eliminates all of that. If you got to take it down to the studs and go back to basics like they did in week 7 last year, start that early. You know what I mean? Get that out of the way of having that run defense solid. But I think having a thumper there is important too. And also sticking with that secondary, unconventional kind of answer is Jordan Howden. I think right now, just based on the bodies on the team, he's plan C at safety, and that could quickly go to C later. You know what I mean? So he has to establish himself. You know what I mean? Let it be known, because they're going to bring in the veteran bodies during camp to fill in special teams roles. And, they bought Jonathan Aberman for 2 years to do that. But it's now your time to plant your flag and kind of step it up and make a name for yourself whenever you get the opportunity.
Very off the radar pick for this conversation, and we will see what the roster. I don't think they're done at wide receiver as of today. Cedric Wilson, they lost MVS. They didn't get Cooper Kupp. They haven't signed anybody else. I mean, you could say Cedric Wilson, you could say Bub Means, you could say
for sure
Jason Tipton. there's an opportunity there for now. I think they might add
You said?
Mason Tipton. He can only go up. The reason I say Cedric Wilson, though, is because he's played his best football under Kellen Moore. He just took a pretty substantial pay cut, basically down to the veteran minimum.
Okay.
Because he wants to try to make it happen in this offense. But any one of those guys as of today. But boy, oh boy, I hope there's still a free agent to come or a valuable draft pick to come, because that can't be all there is at wide receiver.
No, for sure. And I definitely think, encompassing the team as a whole, it is time for all of them to make a leap and make an impact. You have no more excuses almost. You know what I mean? You're running out of them. You weren't healthy last year. Switch that staff. Schemes and stuff wasn't fitting certain people. You switched that staff. When they switched to BY last year on the defensive line, they started playing better. You retained him to keep that continuity. I think you just need to make it happen. You know what I mean? As a person covering the team, it's just like, all right, here we go, running it back again. And I find myself, we're going to get to that point after the draft and after everything when we make our season predictions. And I'm going to tell you right now, I've been burned too many times. So I'm hovering at that 6 to maybe 8 max-ish right now until I could see something else. Yeah. We're going to hit a quick break. And when we come back, we'll have more shows. Stick around for more NewOrleans.Football.
Rouse's Markets is voted best grocery store in New Orleans, best grocery store in Baton Rouge, Mississippi, Gulf Coast, Thibodaux, Houma, Hammond, Lake Charles, Mobile, year after year. Thank you for choosing us best grocery store on the Gulf Coast. Number 1. Thank you.
Thank you.
The number 1 grocery store
In Mississippi, Alabama,
Louisiana. 1 million customers a week can't be wrong. Welcome to Rouse's.
The NewOrleans.Football show is proudly presented by PJ's Coffee. PJ's Coffee has some of the best drinks that you can find. They have locations all over the city. They have pastries and everything else you need to get your day started. So go check them out. Looking for the best insurance coverage at the lowest price? Look no further than Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency. They are a local independent insurance agency right here in New Orleans, specializing in home, flood, and auto insurance. At Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, their dedicated team will shop every available carrier in the market, ensuring you get the most comprehensive coverage at the lowest possible price. Why settle for less when you can have the best? Trust Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, to protect what matters most to you. I do. I've been a client of theirs since 2021. Call them today at 504-326-6526 or visit them online at Protected by Chabert. That's 504-326-6526. Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, your local insurance experts. Hard Hide Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey is an 86 proof blend of aged wheat bourbon, American light whiskey, and fresh Ponchatoula strawberries. Blended in New Orleans, it is not for the thin-skinned. Look for it in your favorite stores, bars, and restaurants. Attention Saints fans, don't let pests and termites invade your home field. Trust the team at Red Pest Solutions to tackle those unwelcome visitors. Call the Red Man today for unbeatable pest and termite control. Score peace with no pest. Visit redpest.com, REDDPEST.com.
Welcome back for more NOF. It is now time for our next segment presented by Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency. Mike, what free agency move just made you jealous? You know what I mean? I don't practice being envious, but there were some moves out there where I was just like, man, it must be nice. You know what I mean? What move around the league had you feeling like that?
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty surprised that Mekhi Becton was had for pretty cheap. Now he comes, is that yours?
Yep.
Yeah, I knew it was going to be yours. So I'll let you talk about him in a minute. Because obviously he comes with some question marks, but I thought people were going to have to pay more for those question marks. But I'll go with one. This is probably cheating because he probably gave a hometown discount. The Saints would have had to probably pay more for him. But man, Ronnie Staley, 3 years, $60 million. Since when do stud offensive linemen come for that cheap?
Yeah.
I will say though, like, I asked this question, sort of challenging myself to find the right answer. If the Saints had more money to spend, if the cap was no problem, I'm looking at the name Cooper Cup right now.
Right.
If the cap was no problem, and they had all this money to spend, and it was time for them to fix their team, and they had saved this war chest, this wasn't the year, man. This wasn't the year. This was like, I mean, Paulson Adebo was the highest paid corner.
Yeah.
at $18 million a year, and I think that's a little bit of a reach. I mean, Charvarius Ward got the exact same deal. Paulson got a little bit more guaranteed money. Is he for sure 3 years, $54 million? Are those both? I think Devontae Adams was the highest paid receiver, and he's like a lot of Saints players, like a couple years past his like. Last year I loved a Jonathan Greenard. I didn't see the Jonathan Greenard this year at defensive end. This might have been a good year for the Saints to be picking their spots in free agency.
Nah, so like you said, Mekhi back then, if the Saints would have found the way they got him to get him in the building, I think that would have just started making the offensive line look more cohesive up front of, all right, a for sure guy. Now, you got to stay healthy, you know what I mean, in that. But I think that would have been a solid piece, familiarity with Kellen Moore. I think that would have been a good piece to get. But also, I had a backup sticking in the pocket, too.
All right.
Now, he would have to play to his size because that's something that I've noticed from him, that he hadn't been playing to his size. But if you could get a DK Metcalf down here with that body size, I don't know what the money looks like, but that size and be able to work with that, man, that'd have been good on offense also.
He didn't come cheap, but yeah, that would have been all right.
Yeah.
With you would have to trade for him, obviously.
Yeah.
Look, there's a couple guys. There's a couple guys, obviously. Aaron Banks was the top guard, but he cost $19-20 million a year. I didn't necessarily like jealousy. Doesn't It's like, man, that's what guards cost now. There was another guard, Will Fries, was almost $18 million a year. And then Jonathan Allen and became available. But you always wonder, why are these guys available? I don't know. There weren't a lot of like I said, last year, Jonathan Greenard was the guy I really wanted for the Saints. And as not revisionist history, we have shows talking about it. I don't just want the big name, like Devontae Adams for the Saints in particular, but for any team in free agency. I want the guy who's 25, 26 years old, and he's about to have the best 4 years of his career, and maybe you get a tiny bit of a discount on him. And I didn't see a lot of those guys this year.
Hey, make sure if you're in the comments, drop your comments on who you would have wanted the Saints to sign. We always like to go through and read them and see kind of where people's heads is at. I feel like I didn't even have to say that because they were going to do it regardless, but y'all just keep on doing y'all thing. We're going to move into our next segment. Mike, in a perfect world.
Yeah.
Perfect world. Blue sky, like it is outside. I'm not going to lie. The weather outside has been top tier. Where are you in the draft, man?
Oh, sorry. Ask the question. I cut you off.
Hit me.
So yeah, like this is obviously, we keep saying best player available because the Saints have needs at every single position. So yeah, if you got to type up your own mock draft and boom, I can't believe he fell to 9.
Yeah.
Let me let you go first this time so I don't steal from you.
Oh no, it's all good, man. I got a couple in the chamber this time.
All right. I'll go if you want to play off that. It's so funny. I'm so stuck in the Saints team that I've covered for 20 years.
Yeah.
And so, like every other year I've ever covered the Saints, I'd be like, well, they're not taking Jalen Walker. Because he's 6'1", 240 pounds. But so I don't know that Jeff Ireland will like him. I mean, they still run the same college scouting department they ever did, even though they're switching to a 3-4 scheme. And Jeff Ireland's a Bill Parcells guy, and they believe it's a big man's game, and maybe they won't have a high grade on him. But personally, covering the Saints, I would be very excited to find out that they all want a Jalen Walker type and have a vision for a Jalen Walker type. And I could watch him, roam sideline to sideline on rundowns and be shot like a catapult at the quarterback on pass rush downs. But the funny thing is, if Dennis Allen was still running this defense, I'd probably be sticking with a Georgia edge rusher that's 6'5" instead and say Micah Williams.
Well, in a perfect world, I mean, if time just stopped and everything changed, Abdul Carter.
All right, Cam Ward, Abdul Carter, and Travis Hunter, even in a perfect world, those three aren't available.
Yeah, no, for sure. But I think if you could get your hands on Mason Graham, I think that is going to be kind of a good move for this team. And even with the defense changing, you have an opportunity to just build somebody up however you want them. You know what I mean? They're coming in tabula rasa, blank slate. You're building them up however you need them to be to fit your system. And I think even having a college coach in Bo Davis on the defensive line, you're able to just get down to the fundamentals on what you want it to look like. And I think that's going to be a key part moving forward also.
Defensive end and edge rusher, I wish there were more sure things in the top 10. So I don't want to see the Saints reach if the perfect fit isn't there. The one I actually feel best about is Will Campbell. If the Saints had Will Campbell and Tali Fuaga as their left tackle and right tackle for years to come, I would just feel so much better about their long-term future. You'd feel like, yeah, I'd keep my left tackle, sure. Yeah, and I'd move Tali to right tackle. If he's an all-pro guard, that doesn't hurt. But I mean, I hope he's a left tackle if you're going to take him at number 9. But that might be an answer. And look, I'm not going to say I wouldn't be thrilled to see them love Shedeur Sanders. I don't know that I'm going to predict Shedeur Sanders, but there's nothing I'd rather see than them being sure about a quarterback. And I don't care if it's a Michael Penix Jr. situation with the Falcons, and it's like, why did you spend this much money on the veteran if you're going to draft the guy? So what? Yeah. You immediately acquire a future if you get a top 10 quarterback.
Now, if you want to see jersey sales just fly off the rack, that'll be a move to do it. He comes with his own brand already. You know what I mean? So I think that'll be something. I'm interested in that personally, but I don't know if it's going to happen.
I don't predict that will happen, but
neither do I.
I actually don't predict he'll fall, and I don't get the impression, although that could be something that they want to keep secret. I don't get the impression the Saints are targeting him right now, but I also don't think he'll fall. Someone's going to love him.
For sure. We're going to hit a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have the Martin Wine and Spirits questions of the day.
Total Maintenance is one of the largest locally owned home and commercial service providers in South Louisiana and serve the greater New Orleans and Baton Rouge markets. They have a membership program that gets you 2 tune-up visits for AC and heating, as well as club membership discounts of 15% on all repairs, half off of all diagnostic charges, and 3-year warranties on most repairs for membership clients. This is usually priced at the low price of $24.95 a month per system, but if you tell Total Maintenance that you found them through NOF, they'll lower the price to $20.95 per month per system for as long as you keep the membership active. Services include AC and heating service and replacement, electrical service, plumbing service, as well as generator service and installation. They are Total Maintenance. Find them at tm-ac.com or give them a call at 504-841-3300, or if you're in the Baton Rouge area, 225-480-1000. Martin Wine and Spirits is home to a selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and much, much more. They are family owned and operated since 1946 and specialize in wine, spirits, gourmet food, gift baskets, catering, and tasting events. They have many locations, so they're never too far away. You can check them out in Metairie, New Orleans, Mandeville, and Baton Rouge, or if it's more convenient, you can always shop online. Whether you're a wine novice or a seasoned collector, you'll enjoy the Martin Wine and Spirit experience. Whether you are a local New Orleanian or a fan in town for the game, get your pre- and post-game fired up at Aaron Rose. Local chaos and local love for the black and gold. Wake up and live with daily drink specials, mimosas, screwdrivers, Bloody Marys, and hot or frozen Irish coffees, all just $3 or $4 between 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Aaron Rose, half a block from Bourbon Street in the French Quarter, 811 Conti Street.
Welcome to the Queen Casino, where entertainment meets unparalleled customer service. From our days on the water to our new land experience overlooking the Mississippi River, our dedicated staff is here to ensure your visit is nothing short of exceptional. Whether you are coming or going, our well-lit parking lot and security team provide guests with red carpet treatment. Our security team keeps watch so you can focus on fun and fortune. From table to table, our attentive staff is here to serve up the ultimate experience. Join us at the Queen Casino. Your royal adventure awaits.
Welcome back for more NOF. It is now time for our Martin Wine and Spirits questions of the day. Martin's is home to a wide selection of handpicked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and more. Martin's so much more than just wine. Today's question comes from Joseph. Joseph asks, what is going on with Taysom Hill and his contract? Any word if he's going to take a pay cut?
Yeah, there were a couple of Taysom Hill questions. And I got the impression that one thing they were going to do is buy time if needed to find out how he's doing in his rehab, to find out how good he feels, to find out how good he looks, to make sure he still wants to play. All indications are he does. There was no hint at him considering retirement, and then figure out the right price to pay him. Now, I thought they were going to have to do something temporarily with his contract to buy time. As we said, they're over $30 million under the cap, so they can just leave it as is for now. But I have the feeling that by the time we get to training camp or something, his contract will not be still $10+ million for the final season on his deal. But I do think all signs point to him still being a part of this team and coming at a reduced rate like some of the other veterans we've seen this offseason.
Yeah, for sure. At a reduced rate, that would be perfect, because if you can get that production like you got in that Cleveland game at the end of the season, I don't know if it's going to be that older in age coming off a significant injury, but that mentality is still there. If you could get that, sign me up for it. Let's move on to our next question. Not the traditional.
Who does this one come from?
Well, that's what I'm getting to. Not the traditional Martin submission, but this was a good tweet from a player, Cam Jordan. He said, let me see something right quick. Who is y'all top 5 drafted Saints offensive lineman? He went offensive tackle, Teron Armstead. At offensive tackle, Willie Roaf. You put me on game to him pre-production. Appreciate you. Guard, Jari Evans. Guard, Andres Pete. And center, Eric McCoy.
Yeah, Cam made the same mistake that Nick and Brandon made on the Wednesday show where they forgot there was life before Cam Jordan was on the team. But no, he did show respect to Willie Roaf, who is the number 1 pick on this list for sure. I mean, he's one of the best offensive tackles in NFL history. He's in the Hall of Fame. He's in the Ring of Honor. But Teron Armstead, I'm glad there's 2 tackle spots. One of them's going to have to go play right tackle. Teron Armstead's fantastic. He might be, he's right there neck and neck with Jari Evans, who's also on my list. As when you guys asked that question on the previous show, who would you pick to add to this Saints team? Those 3 guys are probably my top 3 choices. Adding like just all-time great elite offensive linemen that have played for the Saints. And then it gets a little tougher after that. I think Stan Brock is a guy that deserves mention. Ryan Ramczak's a guy.
I don't know.
Stan Brock was an offensive tackle from more like the Bobby Hebert days. But Saints Hall of Famer. They drafted him in 80 and was here till 92, but then also played in the Super Bowl for the Chargers after that. So he was the GOAT before the Renaissance.
Wait. You saying they've been losing out on talent like that and sending another team?
No, he was here for 13 years. He was here for 13 years. He just finished his career with the Chargers and snuck in one more Super Bowl. But and then Ryan Ramczyk, who obviously but look, I used up my title spots on Willie Roaf and Teron Armstead. Jari Evans is obviously my right guard. So the 2 other spots, look, from what I've covered this team for 21 years now. Carl Nix is the best I saw play. I did not cover Jim Dombrowski. So I think it's probably a fair conversation between them for that other guard spot. And then at center, I got to cover Charles Bentley for a year or 2. Injuries cut his career short. Otherwise, he probably would be the answer to this question. I have covered Eric McCoy, who might be the answer to this question. I did not cover Joel Hilgenberg, but as a proud Iowa Hawkeye, I'm well aware of Joel Hilgenberg. So those are the candidates at center. I mean, if I'm going with my eyes, I got to go Eric McCoy and Carl Nix. But obviously, if somebody tells me I'm wrong and that it's Jim Dombrowski and Joel Hilgenberg, I can't argue with them.
Yeah, I think it was a little home cooking there with his teammate, his previous teammate, Andres Pete. But, man, you put the professor hat on, man. You took me to school just now. I think you took maybe some people to school also, because I have no idea who some of those people you were talking about.
I mean, the Saints didn't have a super proud history in their first 40 years or whatever, but obviously everyone knows about the Dome Patrol. Yeah. Ricky Jackson, everybody knows about Willie Roaf, everybody knows about Sam Mills. They got some Hall of Famers. Morton Anderson would be our kicker. So there's some guys that even if you've just been a Saints fan starting with the Peyton Breeze era, that should be on the top of my.
See, with Brooks, I remember Brooks. He used to go in there with the G Knights, tear it up a little bit against Michael Vick. Hey, this is your chance to answer the question. I think you might have answered Willie Roaf, but Who would you choose to put on this team from previous Saints teams?
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I'm thinking offensive line, which would give Willie Roaf the slight edge over Jari Evans and Teron Armstead. I don't disagree with the pass catcher. I mean, Michael Thomas or a Jimmy Graham would be huge. And then I liked what Nick was thinking when he was talking about pass rushers, but I'd go Ricky Jackson if I was going pass rusher.
You wouldn't go Davenport.
And Prime Cam is close.
Yeah.
The theory of Marcus Davenport is different than if like you got their best game and you got to put that on repeat for 50 games, then maybe Marcus Davenport enters the conversation.
Okay.
But I'll stick with Ricky Jackson and the gold jacket.
For sure. That'll do it for this edition of NewOrleans.Football. We appreciate y'all for stopping in. Catch you next time.